Opening night is just about 24 hours away. I could not be more excited for the Heat to kick off their 24-25 campaign, and they are doing that at home in the Kaseya Center against the Orlando Magic, where they are actually 2-point favorites in this ball game. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we are going to preview today's game. We'll look at the injury report for both squads. We're going to look at the starting lineups and what I am looking for from a Miami Heat perspective. But before we get into all of that, don't jinx it. Do you want the Heat to start off the season on the right foot with a W against the division rival Orlando Magic, who are also going to be in that same tier of playoff teams fighting for anywhere between 8 and really 3? Well, if you do, hit that thumbs up icon and hit that like button. All right, we'll start with the Heat injury report, and Josh Richardson is really the only injury. Now, Josh Christopher is also banged up with a right big toe contusion, but he was never going to be in the Heat rotation regardless, so Richardson's the only injury. Now, I did just see before filming this that he is getting cleared to get back, and he's been getting up some shots, working his way back. Don't expect him to be in the rotation for a week or so, but we will keep you updated on the progression of Josh Richardson. For the Orlando Magic, they have no injuries. They are completely healthy. They have no one being held out of this game, which is good for them. And honestly, even though Richardson is not going to play in this game tomorrow night, I don't really count that as a massive injury. It's not like the Heat desperately need him off their bench for Game 1 of 82. And speaking of Game 1 of 82, these will be your starting lineups for each team. The Heat rocking with that squad that played so well in the preseason. Rozier, Tyler Herro, Jimmy Butler, Nikoloa Jovic, Bam Adebayo. They have never played in a regular season game together. The first time that five-man group played together was in the preseason. They played extremely well, and they were efficient offensively. I am excited to see them match up against Jalen Suggs, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. That group was obviously the 4 seed last season in the postseason, KCP being the prize addition that the Magic added in the offseason. But they also are a pretty deep team as well, and I did want to show the Magic depth in the bench. The first 5 guys that you'll see come off the bench for Orlando: Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac, and Mo Wagner. They are an interesting team. Their bench isn't the strongest in terms of offensive ability, but they are a really good defensive team and overall a good squad. I'm high on Anthony Black. I really liked him coming out of the 2023 NBA draft. He didn't do what I thought he was going to do last season, but man, they are a good squad. And if you missed the news yesterday, their starting point guard Jalen Suggs just got a 5-year, $150 million deal, getting paid $30 million per season. I think it was a little rich for Jalen Suggs. He's getting paid basically the same amount as Tyler Herro, and I think Herro is a better basketball player. But either way, they have a good young crew developing down in Orlando. All right, let's get what to watch for the Miami Heat. And the number one thing that I can't wait to see how Erik Spoelstra kind of assesses this matchup is how they are going to defend inside. You saw the starting lineups just a second ago. Jovic at the 4 for Miami, Bam at the 5. For the Magic, Paolo Banchero at the 4, Wendell Carter at the 5. But I don't think that these two should match up equally with each other, because Paolo Banchero is the best player on this Orlando Magic team, and he's also a big fella as well. He is very lengthy. He's very physical. You see the numbers on screen: 6'10", 6'11", 250 pounds. He is a freak athlete. It's the reason why he went number 1 overall a couple of years ago. And he was amazing last season, averaging 22.5 points per game. Struggled a little bit in the postseason, but he can do it all on the defensive end as well. And when you think about matching up with the Orlando Magic, you can't try to tell me that it isn't the best thing for Miami to put Bam Adebayo on Paolo Banchero and have Jovic start against Wendell Carter. Now, Carter's obviously physical. He's strong. He's a bigger guy. But to me, having your best defender in Bam Adebayo guard Paolo Banchero makes the most sense. And that's why Jovic being in the starting group helps Miami so much. Is he the most physical guy? No, but he's 6'11". He's got a good wingspan. He's added weight. He's 240 to where he can hold his own against a Wendell Carter. And Bam has the upper hand in these matchups with Banchero last season. Bam matched up with Paolo on the defensive side of the floor for 4 minutes and 30 seconds over the 4 games that they played last year. Banchero in those games scored 13 points, shooting only 5 of 15 and 1 of 4 from 3 and turning the ball over 1 time. So when you look at these numbers in the 4 times that they matched up in the 4 minutes, so not as much minutes as you would think Bam guarding Banchero in one-on-one situations, but in those 4.5 minutes, Bam has had the best number. Best on best. That's what I'm doing. The best defender on the Heat, the best defender in the NBA, in my opinion, going up against one of the rising stars in the NBA in Paolo Banchero and the best player on the Orlando Magic. That's how I want to play this game. Put Bam on Paolo and let the chips fall everywhere else on how they fall. And make sure you are joining us for this first game tomorrow night. Games at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be live 30 minutes beforehand at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the thumbnail. Subscribe. I put out daily content surrounding the Miami Heat, but also am live for almost every Heat basketball game. So you see the thumbnail, click on it and join us, and make sure you are subscribed. All right, the second thing I'm keeping my eye on for with the Miami Heat is, are they going to keep the same pace offensively that they did in the preseason? This was the main takeaway that most Heat fans and content creators and analysts had to take away from the preseason. Because when you look last season in the 23-24 year, the Miami Heat averaged 96.9 possessions per 48 minutes. That was the second slowest pace in the National Basketball Association last season. What did they do in the preseason? That pace got bumped up, and now a limited sample size, only 4 or 5 games, but it was 104.2 possessions in the preseason per 48 minutes. Just in case you were wondering, that updated number that they had in the preseason of 104.2 would have been the fastest pace and the most possessions per 48 minutes over a span of 82 games last season. So the question is it going to be sustainable? No, I don't think it is, especially when you have a veteran team like Miami, where Jimmy's 35, Terry's pushing 30, Bam's still in his prime, so is Herro, but you got a couple of those main guys in Jimmy and Rozier a little bit older. I don't think that pace of the fastest-paced offense in the National Basketball Association is going to be sustainable, but a happy medium, going from the second slowest to maybe 15th, 14th, maybe even 10th in the NBA in terms of pace and possessions per 48. That is where you're going to want to stay and kind of lean there, because the Heat offense was one of the worst offenses in basketball last season. It's the reason why they were the 8th seed. Maybe part of that is because they just didn't give them themselves enough opportunities to put the ball in the basket. Get out in transition, lean on your defense, get out, run. That's why Jovic, Terry, Tyler, Bam, Jimmy is such a fun starting lineup, is because they can all handle it, they can all push the pace, they can all make decisions and make for others. That's why the starting lineup's so versatile and so exciting. What is exciting is our new sponsor as well, DraftKings, my favorite sportsbook and casino that I use on a daily basis. And with basketball back, I am so excited that DraftKings is coming aboard. The NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HEATCHAT. That's code HEATCHAT for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/bball. And you could already make some bets for the first game of the season between the Heat and Magic. The Heat are 2-point favorites, as we displayed earlier in the show. I'll take Miami. I think they win this game, and I think they win it by about 5 or 6. I'm also going to do some player props. DraftKings is the king of player props in the NBA. Tyler Herro, 3+ three-pointers made. And then I'm also going to take Bam Adebayo, 31+ points, rebounds, and assists combined. You tell me Bam's not going to get 22, 10, and 4 assists? Come on. That feels like a free one if you're asking me. You could do straight bets. bets, you can do parlays, you can do anything you want over at DraftKings. So make sure you download DraftKings and use promo code HEATCHAT when you are signing up. All right, moving on here. How does Spo handle the rotations? And this is probably maybe the number one thing. I didn't rank what I'm watching for in terms of excitement, but this is the one I'm most intrigued for personally. Why, you might ask? Well, when you go to the preseason, we didn't see a rotation. Spo was keeping that a little close to the vest, and we'll see it come out on display for the first time tomorrow night against the Magic, because only in the preseason we saw full line shifts rather than the rotations. You saw the Heat starters play together for 7 minutes, all 5 would come out, and the second unit would come in. Then they would come back in. Like, it was very intriguing, and I've never seen Spoelstra do that in the preseason, to where it was just strictly 5-man groups going in, 5-man groups going out. It was fun to see that kind of go out, but it's also hard to get a feel of what they're going to do in rotations. And I was happy with what I saw from the starters, especially offensively, which is what the main thing is, because we know the Heat's offenses has to improve if they want to be better in the regular season as well as in the postseason. And in the preseason, the starters had 129 possessions together, scoring 148 points, shooting 65.5% inside the arc, which is a big-time storyline, because instead of taking deep mid-range twos, a lot of those two-point shots came at the rim instead of taking the inefficient long twos. Now, they did struggle from three-point land, but I kind of attribute that to a little bit of a struggle from Nikoloa Jovic. He makes a couple more that he's capable of doing, and that number is closer to 35-36%. And obviously, they're always going to be a good free throw shooting team with Jimmy, Bam, Tyler shooting 80%. But you see the bottom numbers at your screen, too. An offensive rating of 114.7. That's improved. Having a true shooting percentage of 58% and effective field goal percentage of 55%. The offense was very improved. Now, going back to the rotations, though, because I do not expect Erik Spoelstra to do this in the regular season. It would be straight up ludicrous if he ultimately did that. I'd expect, though, and the number one thing that I can almost guarantee is that the Heat are going to stagger Terry Rozier and Tyler Herro for most of the game. Now, they're obviously going to start, and maybe they're likely close together if it's a close game at the end, which it's Miami Heat basketball. Let's face it, it's going to be a close game. And I expect Terry or Tyler, whatever one Spo chooses, to come out 4 or 5 minutes into the game. And then Terry and whoever stays in is going to be in the next 4 to 5 minutes. And then when the second unit kind of comes in with 3-4 minutes to go in the first quarter, well, then that's when Tyler or Terry will come back in. Now, I do think they'll play some minutes together, but it just makes a lot of sense to have one of them on the court at all times, whether it is Terry or Tyler, to be the lead ball handler, creator, shooter in the backcourt. It just makes a ton of sense for them to have one of the two guards on the floor at all times, and we'll see who ultimately becomes the leader of that second unit from the guard position, because the Heat don't really have a backup point guard. We'll see Drew Smith, but it'll be intriguing to see, and it's probably the number one thing I'm excited for, but do expect a lot of Terry Rozier and Tyler Herro staggering if you're asking me. All right, we are close to tip-off for 24 hours. I almost said 48 for some reason. Drop your score predictions for Heat Magic. You know what? I'll give you my score prediction at the end of today's video, but I want to hear yours down below. All right, the last thing that I'm looking for is the Heat center depth and the rotation in the front court as well. And this is something we've well documented. The Heat have 4 centers on their active roster right now: Bam Adebayo, Kevin Love, Thomas Bryant, and Kel'el Ware. But if we're going to be honest, and we've been very open about this at the channel, I know a lot of Heat fans and Heat Report viewers are not happy about this, but I would not expect to see Kel'el Ware for a while. Just the way it happened in the preseason, unless Erik Spoelstra put the craziest poker face of all time in the preseason, Ware didn't really play in the meaningful minutes. He only played in the fourth quarter, and we saw Thomas Bryant and Kevin Love both play over him in rotation. So I expect Kel'el Ware to be sitting on the bench watching for the beginning of the season. I think he'll ultimately have a role maybe 20, 30 games in. Spo just wants to have him ease into it, maybe get more experience in practice and get more visual and mental reps before he's trusted in this rotation. But I will say this: I better not see Thomas Bryant tomorrow. If you want to run a 3-man rotation of Bam, Jovic, and Kevin Love in the front court like you did for most of last season, fine. But I better not see Thomas Bryant. He is a bad basketball player. He shoots way too many threes for someone who's not a good three-point shooter. He doesn't rebound with the efficiency that I'd like him to, and he gets beat defensively all the time. He's a good rim-running center. but that is all he has. He's a good pick and roll guy, but he cannot shoot a three, which he does way too often. Not a good enough rebounder, and certainly not a good defender. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. I said I'm going to give you my score prediction, and I'm going to predict a Heat win. I said it. I'm going 107-102. Miami wins. That would also hit the over in this game at 208.5, so that would be a sweat job. Give me the Heat, 107-102 over the Magic, and make sure you join us for this game, first one of the season. I am so pumped up. Hopefully, I'll see you there at the watch party. Remember, live 30 minutes before tip-off. This is the thumbnail. If you see it come across your YouTube, make sure you join in and make sure you're subscribed. Jesus.